Today's episode of Endo Warriors Podcast is brought to you by Emmett Surgical. Emmett Surgical, revolutionizing surgical intelligence. ESP brings real-time, enhanced decision-making to the OR with unmatched precision, offering a game-changing advantage in the future of minimally invasive surgery. For more information, visit emmettsurgical.com. That's EMET surgical.com. All right, welcome back to another episode of Endo Warriors. I am joined today by Alison Kero, who has navigated her own journey with Lyme disease, and through that experience, discovered something powerful about healing, trauma, and the connection between what we hold emotionally and physically. So first off, thank you so much for being here, Alison.
Thank you very much, Callie. I really appreciate you inviting me here today to talk about my experience.
I think it's going to be a great conversation because when we have a chronic illness of any sort, we have this invisible weight that can quietly bleed into our homes, our relationships, and even our physical bodies. So I want to start with having you tell the listeners and walk us through your Lyme disease and when it started and how did that look for you?
When I first got sick, it was February of 2014. And right before that happened, I'd gone to visit a relative who spent the entire weekend just putting me down to the point where I finally said, "Geez, is there anything you do like about me?" And it was like literally 2 seconds of a compliment and then back to the other. And so I was beaten down by that. Things weren't really going well in a lot of areas of my life. And I was working with a client on shutting down her office, and it was just complete and utter chaos. She kept changing her mind. She would hire other people who would come in and help, but wouldn't talk to me. She at one point hired another professional organizer who came in, tried to order me around, and undid everything I had spent 2 days doing. And it was just pure chaos. And I felt like I had to just defend myself. She kept going between wanting to hire me full time as her assistant and trying to fire me. It was very weird. And I had the flu. I got the flu while I'm in the middle of this. And I finally got home, realized I was really sick. I kept trying to call my doctor to say, "Hey, I've got the flu. What should I do?" The day I was finally finished, I ended up with a fever of 102.3. I called them, said, "Hey, what should I do? Should I go to the hospital?" "We'll call you back." An hour later, it's 103.2. I call back. "We'll call you later." They never called. The office is closed. I left kind of um, a message where I was kind of screaming into the message and swearing because I thought, just left me. And I guess he had shut down the office but hadn't left. He called back. He was rude, angry, mean, and I was terrified he wasn't going to help me unless I kowtowed to him. The medication he gave me didn't work, and I couldn't move for 3 weeks. I had to miss out on a trip to Ireland. And as that was going on, just sort of, I couldn't get healthy. I had no energy. I would sleep for 12 hours, wake up, have enough energy to open my eyelids, look at the time, and close them back up for another couple of hours. If I had to go to the bathroom, it often took me 2 hours to get to the bathroom. At the same time, I think I was going through perimenopause. So I don't even know which, they were both combining to make this like perfect storm of horror where, foggy brain, weak limbs, aching joints, and just extreme fatigue. And I got rid of that one doctor, tried to find several others. None of them seemed to care that I was sick or even do a modicum of, "Hey, let's look into see what we might have." I finally went to a doctor, I think 8 months later, that a friend of mine suggested, who didn't take insurance, but she said, "You have Lyme disease. I'm going to put you on this medication for 2 months." I took it. I felt worse by the end of it, not better. She seemed annoyed, and I was struggling. I could barely work, so I didn't have the money to keep paying her. And again, who wants to work with someone who's annoyed at you for saying what you're doing for me isn't working? I went through a slew of doctors who were abusive verbally. Sometimes they did things to me that I hadn't even given them permission to do. There was no recourse. No one seemed to care. My friends did not care. It was like, "Oh, come out to dinner and spend money." Like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm sick. I can't move. And I'm so nauseated. That was it. I was nauseated for 4 years. I could barely eat. Great diet, but I couldn't eat because I was so nauseated. And they'd be like, "Well, why don't you come out to dinner?" And I'm like, "I'm broke. You're going to make me go to you, and I can't eat anyway." So it just felt like for years, trying to find a doctor was almost impossible. Trying to keep my business afloat was almost impossible. And I just kept running into, maybe I'd take a step forward, I'd get shoved back 6 different steps. And I was trying every kind of healing modality that I could even get my hands on. Nothing was working. I was at odds with my family because they didn't understand what was going on. They're getting angry at me for spending money on things that weren't working. But what am I supposed to do? Just sit there?
Right.
I'm trying to work. I'm trying to keep myself afloat. At one point, I thought I was going to end up homeless. I'm absolutely terrified. It was a miserable experience. And I felt completely worthless because I felt like I couldn't even show up in my life or anybody else's. Thankfully had one client who understood what I was going through and was just a solid person to me up until the point where I realized that she was really sick herself and she was struggling with a drug and alcohol addiction that eventually did lead to her dying. And I had to part ways with her about a month before that happened because I knew it was going to happen and I didn't want to find her. That would have traumatized me even worse. Finally, I found a doctor when I moved to Connecticut, but I couldn't continue to afford him. And then my family finally was like, "Oh, you're not kidding." They helped me move to a different area. They helped me with medical treatments, but it was a one size fits all medical treatment. And when I got out of it, I was too afraid to say, "Hey, I'm not all better. I'm still really struggling with my energy and I can't afford the upkeep." And I was at the time trying to take care of my mom, who had basically been like, "Oh, well, we live near each other. You can now take care of me. You can go grocery shopping and take me to the doctor's appointments and do whatever it is that I need you to do while you are trying to get back on your feet, going to medical appointments for yourself and trying to start a business." And it was like my family gave me 6 months to get myself back up and running. And I was like, I'll take it because
That's
I
a
don't
lot
feel
of
like I have a
extra added
choice.
pressure.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. But 6 weeks after I finished my medical treatments and my business had actually started to kind of take off by that point, the pandemic hit. And I was working with clients who were downsizing into assisted or independent living. Can't work with them anymore. So I struggled again. We then ended up moving to where I live now, my mom and I. And again, I'm taking care of her. Her health is getting way worse. My physical health is getting worse. My mental health is getting worse because I couldn't handle her. And I guess that's when I also started realizing there was been a lot of trauma between my mother and I that she had sort of disguised as this is a normal relationship. And I was starting to realize none of this is normal. Thankfully, she realized she was too sick for me to deal with any longer. She's now back east. She is in assisted care because she needs a lot more help than any of us can handle. And she has people helping her. So she's okay. I kind of got back on my feet a little bit, I decided to give up on organizing because I was so burnt out by that point. I had nothing left to give anybody whatsoever. So I got another job at a travel agency. And unfortunately, I was seeing people who were using the N word, people who were going on anti-trans rants and homophobic rants. There would be clients who would be screaming at you and you were told to just take the abuse. I had someone there who her husband was dying and I understood that, but she was venting her rage on me and making my life miserable and no one was helping me through it.
And this is at a travel agency?
Yeah. Yeah.
I never heard anything like this.
It's actually a very well-known company that I won't name it because I don't feel like getting myself sued. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it's across the country and they do a lot more than just travel. So they claim their DEI and I just was like, I can't deal with this. And last February, I was so miserable that I'm driving to my job thinking, if I get into a car accident and die, I don't care because I hate this. And I feel stuck because I had taken a trip through them and you had to give them a year or pay it back. I couldn't pay it back. So I was just trying to hold on till September. And thank God I got sick because no one ever wore a mask. They knew I was sick. I got sick from somebody bringing in their germs and I couldn't get healthy. My Lyme got triggered again. So then I got sick a week and a half again after I had gotten sick and it got so bad, I literally couldn't get out of bed anymore. And I thought at that point, okay, I'm going to find myself a doctor who actually knows something about Lyme. And I did. I found an amazing doctor who doesn't do a one size fits all. He tailors it just to me. And then I said, I'm going to hire myself a coach because I've not found that therapy ever works for me, but I want a coach because I'm going to make something out of this life. I'm going to create something different and I'm going to crawl out from under these ashes. And about 5 months after I started working with her, I decided that I did want to go back into being an organizer again because I really do love it. But I decided that this time I was going to do it differently. I was going to show up and create it for how I wanted to show up. I was going to create it for me. I wasn't going to listen to the people who said, you should do this, you have to do this, blah, 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 because that's what burned me out is me thinking that I had to be such a people pleaser to everybody else that it was sucking the life out of me. So I have really, and what I learned during this was that if I use what I'm talking about with organization, which is that I think that decluttering and organizing teaches you to become aware of who you are, what you want, who you're surrounding yourself with, and what you're surrounding yourself with, and whether that is a supportive thing or a non-supportive thing. It helps you to declutter all the stuff that doesn't support you so you can start listening to your intuition. You can finally hear yourself once you declutter all of that chatter, whether it's physical or whether it's, mental. You can then start putting healthy boundaries in your life so that you can see for yourself, is this person that is coming into my life going to help me or is it going to make my life worse? And it also helps you to start showing up for yourself. Like, I'm going to put a boundary on, I'm going to do these things today. And I'm going to put a boundary on showing up for yourself and making sure that I'm going to take the best care I can for myself and not allow myself to go, oh, well, who cares for today? I keep showing up no matter what, doing the best I can. And then all of that leads you to start making healthier, more confident decisions because you know who you are and you have a clear path in your life and you can focus and you finally have clarity.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. So I should have probably asked this at the very beginning so that people know. Can you tell the listeners what Lyme disease is?
Well, I don't even know most doctors can. For me, Lyme disease, apparently I got bitten by a tick. I don't remember ever getting bitten by a tick. I never saw anything on my body and I used to react to anything and everything. But basically for me, the symptoms were foggy brain, painful joints, like weak muscles, nausea at certain points, and extreme fatigue where I still struggle. That's the thing that really struggles with me today is just even small things. It's like a buy now, pay later program where you might have energy now, but later you're going to pay for what you just did.
Yeah.
So last year at this time, if taking a shower, thank God I've got a seat in my shower. I couldn't even tolerate that. And I had to go straight back to bed because that shower just wiped me out. So
everybody listening can totally relate because Endo does the same thing. So does adenomyosis and PCOS, like the brain fog and the fatigue that is so prevalent. And people who don't suffer from something like Lyme disease or Endo, they fully do not understand. When we say we're exhausted, we can't get out of bed. People think that we are like being dramatic when it's like, I sometimes can't go to the bathroom. I don't have enough energy to get out of my bed to just crawl to the bathroom. But I think a lot of people think they're making it up. It can't be as bad as it is, and then like you said, you lose a sense of your identity and your friends or family lose patience with you. And then you think you're the problem. And so we become people pleasers because we feel like we are a burden on other people's lives. And so we decide to put ourselves second, third, fourth, and make sure that we are not being inconvenient.
Yeah, I struggled with a massive amount of depression because I felt like I was such a huge burden on everyone. And I have also just straight out lied to myself and others to make them feel more comfortable because it's like 1 minute I might have energy and I look fine. I could be masking. You don't know what I feel like inside. And then the next, I'm like, I got to go lie down. And you're like, well, you seemed fine before.
Right.
Well, I'm not now. Or why don't you go get exercise? That'll help. It does to a point.
I hate when people say that. It's like, if I had enough energy to go and exercise, do you know how many other things in my life I need to do before I go and exercise? Like if I get 30 minutes of like adrenaline or of anything, I'm like, well, I need to do the massive amount of laundry that I have stacked up. I am not going to the gym.
Yeah. Oh God, no, the gym would murder me. So I take a walk and that's what I can manage. And I'm pretty darn proud that I could take my walk.
As you
So
should be.
yeah.
You use the phrase emotional clutter. And when you
Yeah.
use that, I think that it gives a really like visual of exactly what you're saying. So when you say emotional clutter, in my head, I'm thinking just everything is a mess. Everything's chaotic. You can't distinguish between anxiety, depression, shame, guilt. And I'm curious what you define as emotional clutter.
All of that, all
Yeah,
of those emotions that are, it's like a loop that won't shut the heck up, and you can't seem to get out of your own way, and you can't find a moment of clarity where you can quiet that so you can hear yourself think. Because when you can hear yourself think, you know what to do, you know the steps to take, and you are kind to yourself. But when you have the guilt and the shame and the fear and all of the other stuff, it's telling you you're not enough. You should be able to do better. You should be able to get out of bed and do this, that, and the other thing. And you're just lying to yourself and blah. And then it's like all of these voices in your head, and it can drive you completely insane. Then there's you left unchecked, it can start ruining your immune system. It can mess up your sleep. It can mess up your digestive system. It causes what? Anxiety, depression, worthlessness, hopelessness. It can cause cognitive decline and also ruin your relationship with yourself and with others.
exactly. I mean, your nervous system is literally so dysregulated that like not just emotional chaos shows up, but physical chaos and your environment becomes chaos. So
Yeah. And that
I
makes it
think,
even worse.
yeah, there's a huge correlation between your emotional clutter and how that presents into the home that you live in. And there's this thing, if you make your bed every day, that's supposed to be the start to motivating you to have a productive days by making your bed. And when you got back into doing organization, what did you find when you were working with clients as they were organizing their physical space?
I think for some people, making their bed is a good thing. I think if you're getting back in and out of it, it's
I
just extra
agree.
work.
I
Changing your
never make
sheets
my
is
bed.
hard enough. Yeah. So, I'll pull the colors up, but I'm certainly not going to make it pretty or anything like that. And then I'm always back in it usually in the afternoon because I have to rest.
Yep.
So it's really about those little pockets of clutter of I have to unfinish things or I can't find where this thing is. That's exhausting. And it's also telling you you're not enough. You can't keep a clean home. And it's just that extra clutter is stressful. What I want for people who are struggling with their immune systems and struggling with all of that chaos is for them to have a environment where they can find the things that they need when they need it, where there aren't big piles of clutter,
Mhm.
where maybe in their closet, the only things that are in there are the things that make them feel safe and warm and comfortable and happy and joyful rather than a huge closet full of stuff of, I can't wear that anymore. It doesn't fit. I never liked that. I spent too much money on this. Somebody gave this to me and I don't even like that. I would rather have a closet where I have 12 items of things that I absolutely love. And I don't care if that's loungewear or, a formal wear. I would rather have that than a closet full of 200 items of I can't find what I like. And 90% of what I have, I don't even like. Everyone
Mhm.
deserves to feel good because that's like one of the first things you do in the morning. And maybe you get out of your pajamas and you just put on your loungewear because you know
Yeah.
you're not going anywhere and you don't feel well, but you want to kind of get out of the PJs and wear something that feels more like clothes. And you want that to make you feel good and safe and comfortable. And that makes you have a better day. Just that.
Yeah. I connect to this in such a deep way because I filed for divorce 5 months after my total hysterectomy and moved back in with my mom and had to start my life over again after my endo journey and then the divorce. And when I finally moved out of my mom's into my own home, moving can be a really great thing because it's a way to declutter it. But
Mm.
I found personally you become really attached to items because
Yeah.
items hold memories and they hold feelings and they're not always good. But I found even the things that when I saw them or held them brought back bad memories, I still had a really difficult time letting go of that. And you mentioned I personally did not find traditional talk therapy to be beneficial when I was going through my own healing journey. And I too went to a life and wellness coach, and she helped change my life.
Mhm.
And I started being able to put the pieces back together. When did you start connecting the dots between your own healing and decluttering, both physically and emotionally?
I mean, I've been an organizer since 2004. As soon as I learned about the profession and started getting into it, I'm one of those people who likes to practice what they preach. And I had 2 bags of unopened mail that I was like, this is not good. Let me go through it. I found a check in it. It wasn't good any longer, but I called up the company and they reissued it to me. So I got $40. In fact, almost anyone whose mail I've ever gone through or unopened papers, I found money. All but one person I have found money because they just don't open it. Sorry, I completely forget
No,
what
you're
the
fine.
question
Just when
was.
you connected the dot in your own sense,
So,
like, and
yeah, I mean, I think when I was really sick and I'm just sitting there all day long with nothing to do but think, and I started going through a decluttering in my own house because I didn't have a lot, but I had some things that I was holding on to. I had a friend of mine had made a yarmulke out of yarn in high school. And she died when we were 21 unexpectedly. And our relationship was not, I had kind of moved away because, that's what people do when you get to that age. And I felt a tremendous amount of guilt over it. And I kept that thing for 20 years. Luckily, I connected with her mom several years ago. We're very good friends now. And she's like, she's not going to care. And I learned keeping that is just going to keep me stuck in grief and in guilt. And it doesn't help me whatsoever. And
yes.
so I let it go because I didn't want that in my life. And I figured it was better for me to let it go than to keep hold of it and just have this reminder. Because even if I don't see it every day, it's still there. It's still a silent reminder. And I think that we need to start loving ourselves enough to go, this isn't for me.
It's not serving us.
It's not serving me. It is not supporting me in the life that I have now or in the life that I want to have in the near future. And I have to do myself a service and get rid of it. It's like holding on to that friend who's not a friend,
Mm,
who keeps dragging you down and making you feel bad about yourself. If
yes.
you were looking at it outside of yourself, you would be like, what are you doing? And that's kind of what you have to do is be like, what am I doing? If I'm really going to stand up for myself, if I'm really going to show myself some love, I'm going to show up and I'm going to let those things that are no longer serving me get out of my life for good because they don't need to be here anymore. And I think the other thing that people hold on to are this was who I used to be and I really liked that
Mm,
person. And that makes it really hard to let go of
mm,
those things too.
totally.
I think you can hold on to things that you still use from that person you were, but to let go and be the person you are now because there's still some really great pieces of you. Okay, you may not be able to show up in the way that you used to, but you still have value. And if you allow yourself to, you might be able to start showing up in a new and different and maybe even better way. But if you're so holding on to the past, it's like holding this big, heavy bag that is just bringing you down when you're already down. And if you let it go and you allow yourself to become the person you are now, who, yeah, is different than who you thought you'd be, you might find that you're really amazing just as you are. And that's
Yeah.
going to lift you up and that's going to lighten you up.
I love that. And it's so true because it really is when you release things that are connected to something that's toxic or was connected to trauma, your body holds on to that. And if you still have it in your physical space, how are you like you can't move through and heal if you have something that's going to continuously remind you of that trauma or toxic part that was part of your life. I have a question for you because I'm neurodivergent, and a lot of people who have endometriosis are also neurodivergent. And organizing is a very difficult thing for neurodivergent people. For me personally, I know when I see my house, I recognize I've got stuff everywhere. I know
Mhm.
that. But when I take a look at it, I look at it as a big picture and I'm like, oh my God, I've got laundry here. I've got laundry there. I've got coats over here, papers over here. And I look at it and I freeze. It's too overwhelming. So I don't touch it because it's too overwhelming. When you're helping them, what is the first thing that you either do with your client or tell your client? Because obviously you want to start small.
I do online coaching, and I do that because I found most people checked out when I was in their home. It was sort of like, I don't want to take responsibility for this any longer. You can take responsibility for it, but you're the one who created the mess. I can't diet for you and you hope that you lose weight. I think you need to be involved in the process, because when you do that, it doesn't start happening again. So with my coaching program, I don't want you to look at the whole big picture. I'm not neurodivergent, and that exhausts me. And I'm a professional organizer. That is overwhelming. You don't know where to start. No one can be able to do that. So what I say is, what is the easiest room for you, or which room is going to have the most dramatic results that you need to deal with now? So maybe it's your bedroom, because you deserve to have a really good night's sleep. And then maybe you set a timer for 10 minutes, or if that's too much, 5 minutes, or if that's too much, a minute or 15, whatever. Start slow. If you have been a couch potato for 20 years and then you decide you want to run a marathon, you're not going to run the 26.2 and hope that you're going to make it. You're going to pass out long before that. So you start small, and you don't even look at the whole room. Maybe you take one nightstand and you just clear off the clutter on the nightstand during that time. And then you stop and you celebrate that win, because you know what? You did it. That's amazing. You showed up for yourself, right? It seems like nothing, but if you show up for yourself, and then maybe the next day you go and you set another timer for 15 minutes and you go and do the other nightstand, and then you've got 2 clean nightstands. And what you want to do is you want to take things out, and you want to have maybe a donation or sale box. You want to have your trash can nearby, because there's probably some things that should go in the garbage, maybe a recycling. Then, does it belong in this room? And if so, where does it belong? Everything deserves to have a home, because if it has a home, you know where to find it. You know where to put it back. When you know where to put it back, you are less likely to ever have that clutter pile up again. And if it does, it's small and you can take immediate action. And if it doesn't belong in that room, you can just take it and put it in the room it belongs in. You don't necessarily have to put it away. You can deal with that at a later day, but at least it's in the correct room. And you just keep repeating that process.
I can do that, but to continue to do it, and I have to maintain this, that's what I really struggle with. And I'm sure a lot of listeners do too. For like a week, well, okay, Callie, every time you eat, don't put the dish in the sink, wash it and put it in the dishwasher. And I'll stay true to that, and I'll stick to that for like a week. But as soon as my life starts getting crazy or something's going on, I can't maintain it. And then it just goes back to, I mean, if you saw my house right now, you would be very upset.
I don't think I would. I mean, I've worked with hoarders before, and I didn't get upset with them. I'm
not so much a hoarder, but I don't put stuff back where I take it out from. And I have a difficult time if I decide to hyperfixate, which a lot of people with ADHD do. I either hyperfixate on my closet for 30 to 35 minutes, and then all of a sudden the adrenaline is completely gone, and I'm in the middle of a project and I stop it, and then I don't go and finish it. My difficulty, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, maintaining that organization.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's very important for everybody to assign a spot where everything belongs. But if you get into something in it for 35 minutes and then you're drained after that, you shouldn't be doing it for 35 minutes. Maybe 15 is enough for you. If you're going to do your closet, I would rather you take out just your sweaters and go through them and see which ones you like and don't like, and then put the ones that you do like away, and then donate the rest of them or whatever. So you do it in smaller bits every single day. And the other thing is, that's why I have a coaching program for either 3 or 6 months, because there are some people where a one and done, I do offer a one and done, but that doesn't work for everybody. Some people need more support so that you can get into the habit of learning how to do it and start setting up systems that are going to continue working for you. And maybe one of the things that you do is you listen to a podcast or you put on music while you're doing it, so that you have something else you can focus on and enjoy and make it fun for yourself, so that you're not like, oh my God, this is a chore. Because if you think of it as a chore, nobody's going to want to do it at all. But if you're like, I'm going to put on some music and I'm going to show up for myself, and I'm going to spend 15 minutes and I'm going to make a little tiny corner of my home a little bit better, and then I'm going to be done with it. and that's it. That makes it so much easier for you to get it and get those wins in. And again, it's going to take a while. And I think it's like losing weight. When you decide you want to do it, you want it done like that. But the only way to do it is a little bit at a time, and you start noticing the results. And you can always,
I should probably start in my sock drawer, because my sock drawer collection is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I purposely overbuy stuff because I know how bad I am at remembering to do laundry. I have so many pairs of socks, so many pairs of underwear, so many pajamas, because my life is chaotic, quite honestly.
Well, how often do you tend to, on average, do laundry? Is it every 2 weeks or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like if I run out of something, instead of doing laundry, I will go out and just buy more underwear.
Okay. I mean, well,
it's ridiculous. And I know that's the other thing. It's like, just do your laundry. You put it in the laundry basket, just go do the laundry. But it's like, I can't do it.
Well, what if you put it on a schedule? You put it on every Monday or every other Monday at such and such a time. Do your laundry. Maybe before you start your workday, throw a load in on Monday. And then when you have a scheduled break, you toss it into the dryer, and then you don't deal with it until your day is done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can deal with folding it and putting it away. And that way you're not doing it all at once, which can get overwhelming. You're breaking it up and you are putting it on your schedule so you know you're going to get it done.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
I love that advice. And everybody listening who is neurodivergent and struggles with the same thing, let's do that together. I was looking when we scheduled to record this, I was looking because I was really curious behind like the science of clutter and like how it shows up in our brain and like what it does. And it does show like when clutter is in your physical and emotional self, your cortisol levels are higher.
Yeah.
And we know that when cortisol is higher, it causes inflammation. So I wanted to ask you, when you started getting back into organizing and being a coach and helping other people, did you find that some of your Lyme disease symptoms calmed down?
Yes, because as I created more of a system for my day, I felt like those small decisions that really should be on sort of a system so that you don't really have to think about it. I didn't have to focus on those, and instead I could have the time and the energy to focus on the really big decisions. And I also had more clarity as to how am I going to show up? Who am I going to be meeting with? How am I going to plan my day so that I have enough energy? Plus I can, show up for my clients or for anyone else that I'm meeting with.
Mm-hmm.
And it really has helped me feel like I'm way more in control, and it has helped calm me down, and it has helped me have more energy. I'm also showing up and, one of the things I do when I wake up is I journal for 10 minutes. And if I'm grumpy or whatever, I get that out. And I also plan my day. I named 3 things that I'm going to do that day. I could probably list 1,000, but I only list 3 because those are the big things that I really want to get done. And if I just do those 3, I'm like, great, I had a great, great day. And it really, it helps.
I also think, I'm sure you felt this when you were going through your journey trying to figure out what was going on. We don't have control over ourselves, our bodies. So I think part of taking back that identity and saying, okay, I am in control of what my physical space looks like. Mm-hmm. And it gives a sense of empowerment. This is one thing I do have control over.
Yeah.
I can't control whether or not I'm going to be fatigued or all of that other stuff, but this I can control. And I think that's really an important way to look at it. Just through talking to you, I'm re-looking at my physical space. Okay, I can't control if I'm going to have a flare up today, but I can control putting back the dry shampoo, my 2 hairbrushes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can do that.
Well, and it's a great way to show up for yourself. I want my environment to be calm, not chaos, where it is something that I feel like I'm in control of, and I don't have unfinished projects here, there, and everywhere.
This is a really powerful conversation, and I'm really glad that we had it. And I took away a lot of things that I am going to start incorporating into my life, and I hope that listeners got something out of it too. I always play a rapid fire game before I close the episode out. So hopefully you like games. So the first one is, what's your favorite time of the day?
That's a good question.
Right?
Probably now mornings. So I used to be an evening person. So mornings, early
Okay.
mornings. Yeah.
Okay. What's your go-to movie that you put on that makes you happy and safe and you could watch it over and over again?
The Back to the Future trilogies, I love them.
Those are good. I like
Yeah.
that. Okay, this one's going to be good. If your life was a song, what song would it be?
This is my fight song.
Oh, that's mine too.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a great.
that's really funny. It's so great. I love that song. Okay, and the last one I always ask is, what is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Listen to yourself, not everybody else, because
Very
they don't
true.
know you. Yeah,
Yeah.
not the way you know yourself. You know
Yeah.
your truth.
Love that.
Yeah.
Where can listeners find more information about you and the services that you provide?
Well, you can go to my website, fromcluttertoconfidence.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn under my name, Alison Kero. I also post on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok from Clutter to Confidence.
Awesome. Allison, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your journey and how you've turned your pain into purpose.
Inviting
Thank
me.
you, Allison. I appreciated
Yeah,
it.
no
Okay.
problem.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode of Endo Warriors. Please hit follow, subscribe, and share with a friend so other warriors can find us.